Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm talking with Miss Andrea today. Andrea's been kind enough to offer some insight and some words of wisdom from some experiences that she's had both before working with me and obviously then since working with me. And so because of Andrea's personality, her warmth, her charisma, and her story, I invited her to do an interview with me so that she could share her story to help as many of you watching as possible. So Andrea, there she is. Perfect. Andrea, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this for us.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
it's my pleasure. Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. And I was telling her how much I love the actress behind her, who I think is like the most beautiful woman ever. But anyway, so what I'd like to do first, Andrea, if you could just give us a brief overview of what you were experiencing, what kinds of symptoms, just sort of your health picture in general before you made this decision. And I guess what was it that finally prompted you to make the decision to do things differently than the way you've been doing them?
Okay. Well, I guess I started kind of exploring this back around January of this year. Someone I respect and admire had been a patient of yours, and I kind of started researching your program and just looking because I was just in a major rut. I turned 49 in February, and I just I had gained some weight that I could not seem to lose. I was super emotional all the time. My children are grown and gone, and I was really having a hard time with this whole empty nesting, and I just really wasn't dealing with much of anything. I was real foggy, forgetful. I couldn't remember my words. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't excited about anything. I was tired all the time. I wasn't sleeping well. And I just realized I needed to make a change because my next birthday is a big one, and I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to get healthy and lose weight, and my daughter is getting married in about 3 months, and so I knew I needed energy and focus to get through this year planning a wedding, and it just kind of came down to timing. I just made a decision, you know what, it's my turn. It's time for me to take care of me for a minute. I've taken care of everybody else. Now it's my turn.
Mm-hmm. So how long did you feel like that? And then, did you see any of your other providers and have discussions with them about how you were feeling?
I think that, it's probably been maybe the last year or so that it really amped up, and that really the only conversation that would ever take place or the only response from providers was kind of, well, you're just kind of in that stage and phase of life, and, we can just amp up your antidepressant, and that should help. And that was about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so in what way did you feel that, obviously physically, and I've dealt with lots and lots and lots of different patients and different issues. And of course, we're the same age and I go through all this myself. Sometimes being your own patient is not a good idea.
Right.
All the time it's not a good idea. But anyway, so I guess in what way was it affecting your life? I mean, I know physically you didn't feel good, but most women are really good at putting on a good face and just sort of toughing their way through it. And they'll keep going until they just can't do it anymore. So in what way were your physical symptoms starting to impact other aspects of your life?
Well, I think what you just said was key, is that I'd always been able to just kind of stuff it and handle it and just, trudge on. And I just got to the point where I didn't care anymore. And that's not like me. I didn't have any motivation to work or goal set. And it was putting a strain on my family because I was so moody and emotional and just not, just having meltdowns. That is not my personality, and just no joy. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that something had to give. And my husband agreed.
Well, and if you don't mind me saying this is how you felt despite the fact that you were taking, because you said that the doctor had mentioned increasing your antidepressant dose.
Right.
So this is how you felt already on an antidepressant and on a relatively reasonable amount of antidepressant. I mean, you were already on a fairly decent dose.
Right.
despite
Right.
not having all these symptoms. So I just wanted to point that out, that
Yeah.
most of us aren't born with an antidepressant deficiency, and usually there are other things that contribute to that problem. So,
Right.
um, so when you mentioned these things to your other providers, did they at least try to order any labs on you or do some diagnostic testing to figure out what was going on? No. Okay.
No, just, you go to the doctor once a year. They might run a CBC and check your cholesterol and say, everything looks good, or your cholesterol's a little high, cut down on fried foods, but nothing more
Right.
than that.
Right. So I guess, obviously you said that it came time where you decided you were going to do something for yourself, and you happened to reach out to me, which I'm thrilled about because I really enjoyed working with you. But I guess one of the things that I really admired about you is the fact that you understood that it requires a lot of commitment and a lot of accountability, and there's no quick fix to the issues. And I guess I wanted you to speak a little bit to that, to the fact that, how was it different? I mean, obviously you were willing to put in the work, but on the one hand, you have to have a physician who knows where to look and how to direct you. But on the other hand, from the physician's perspective, then the patient has to actually do what you tell them to do,
Right.
and with the direction. So can you just give a little bit more of what your experience was like, and how all of that transformed you into who you are right now in a really short period of time, actually?
Sure. Well, my dad was a doctor growing up, so I grew up with a very traditional approach to healthcare. So I'll admit I was a little hesitant and a little skeptical, a little cautious when I began the journey, especially maybe about like things like bioidentical hormones. I didn't really know anything about that. And I think I just got to the point in my life, we're always our parents' children, even when we're almost 50.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I had to separate this. Not that he was my doctor, but just, you're always have the parent-child relationship, but I needed to take control of my health and just figure out, okay, what's going to be best for me. And, I just had read so many testimonials from people that I respect and admire that had had good success with you, which is why I looked into it. And, I think what I remember more than anything is that you looked deeper. That you did more tests, that you looked wider and deeper and broader than any provider I've ever worked with. You looked at things and tested things that I didn't even know were testable, and your approach was, let's get to the root cause of why you're feeling like this, not just put a Band-Aid on what you are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I was feeling was no longer okay with me. So that was good. And I think that, the fact that I was willing to make the investment in time, it took time. It took, a lot of commitment, a lot of research, learning a new way to eat, tracking everything. It was not an overnight fix. And that's probably the biggest question I've gotten from people that have watched me kind of shrink over the last 4 months and just seen me feeling better and acting better and looking better is, what's your secret? What are you doing? It's almost kind of irritating because it's like, it's not a secret and it's not one thing. It's a lot of freaking hard work, but it's worth it. And I've learned so much. I've learned about nutrition. I've learned, what my allergies are. I've learned how to eat for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to eat, even, and it's trickled down to my family. My husband has lost almost 20 pounds just by kind of going along this journey with me, just as a byproduct of what I'm cooking and how we meal prep now. And just the difference in what we put in our mouths and in our bodies and learning how it all reacts, it just, it all kind of goes together. And the other point I want to make is, I remember you and I talking one time and you saying, I have patients that maybe are not seeing results. And I thought, well, how in the world could that possibly be? And you said, because they're not following everything I'm saying to do. And I just couldn't even wrap my head around why someone wouldn't follow everything you said to do, because I did. And I'm not saying that for a round of applause, but because sometimes it was hard and sometimes I was mad at you, and you told me that I might not like you sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
when you told me that I had to cut out dairy and sugar and gluten,
all the things you love.
yes, and peanut butter, because I had a huge overgrowth of candida in my system from my test results, and that was the only way to kill it. I cried. I remember thinking, I can't do this. But then I got mad and said, you know what? I have to do this. And I did it. And I was a sugar and carb junkie before, and now I don't even crave it.
Mm-hmm.
I've found new ways to satisfy my sweet tooth and to eat the way that I need to for my
Mm-hmm.
body. And it's funny, my husband and I went out for our 25th anniversary dinner about a week ago, and
Mm-hmm.
He got a steak and ate all this stuff, and I ate treated myself to cake and ice cream and all this stuff. We both felt disgusting when we got home, and he said to me, I am so glad we don't eat like this anymore.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's not that we deprive ourselves. It's not like I'm all rigid and fanatical about it. I do allow myself to adapt to
Mm-hmm.
travel and things like that, but I just know that I know what makes me feel good now and
Right.
what makes me feel bad, and I've learned to make better choices.
Right. Well, and I think that one of the other points, that's a really good point that you made. I mean, because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to do the right thing or what they think is the right thing, and the scale isn't moving. And it's because there's a lot of other underlying factors. I see so many people that have seen other doctors and they say, well, they just told me I need to get off the couch and I need to eat less. And that's
Right.
so not true, because your body weight and your body composition is affected by so many other things other than just what you put in your mouth.
Right.
And people crave things for a lot of different reasons. So I guess the other point is that the dietary piece was a big part of it, but I think the identification and the other things that we did as a kind of a comprehensive approach is what allowed you to be more successful
Right.
with all of that. And honestly, the dieting industry is $1 billion industry for a reason, because they know that people are not going to stick to anything.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that you pointed out that's really important is that this has to be a lifestyle change. This is not
Right.
something that you're going to do for a week or 4 weeks or 4 months and then say, okay, now I lost my weight, or now I feel better and I'm going to go back to what I was doing before.
That's right.
It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another really good point that you made. And the fact that, how much weight did you lose total?
I lost 16 pounds in the 4 months, which to me is perfect. That averages out to a pound a week, which is healthy. I had, someone say to me, well, I just hope you're doing this the right way and that it's all going to stay off. And I thought, seriously, because that, I'm not doing some freaky thing or taking some weird pill or some,
Well, but a lot of people do that. A lot of people want the quick fix and they'll do it that way, and then it will come right back.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, you got a lot of really positive feedback on the pictures that you were posting, because obviously your body size went down quite a bit too, inch-wise.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only exercise I do is Pilates reformer twice a week. I don't do anything major, or I could do more than I do, and probably will start to work up to that a little bit, because what happened was when I started seeing results and I started feeling better, that motivated me to hang in there even when it was hard.
Right.
And all the tracking was a huge part of it. Even though it was a pain sometimes, it was actually helpful to me, because as I saw that number coming down in my journal every day, and I was able to look and see the things that I ate that maybe caused me trouble, or, as we identified my allergies and went through that testing, and I knew what I needed to avoid, the whole picture of it. And then, the hormones getting balanced and everything. Now I honestly feel like a different person. I have plenty of energy. I sleep great. I'm excited about the day. I'm excited about my business, about, all my relationships in my family, and this whole wedding planning process, which can be stressful. I now enjoy. And so I'm very, very, very grateful to you for all of your wisdom, all your input, all your guidance. It has truly changed my life. And I didn't want to accept that this is where I would be the rest of my life, that I'm almost 50 and this is just how it's going to be. And I refused to accept that. And now, I know it doesn't have to be like that. We're getting ready to take our anniversary trip to Banff, and we're ordering hiking poles, and we're going to hike and do all this active stuff that, 6 months ago, that wouldn't have even interested me. So
that's wonderful. That's really great. And again, you have to give yourself the credit because you did the hard work. I just told you what to do.
yeah.
So, and so I guess as we get close to the end here, I know I created this female hormone index evaluation to sort of give women a tool to help them gauge maybe certain hormonal imbalances that they may have. And of course, hormonal imbalances are fueled by all the stuff we're already talking about. So
Right.
I know that you took it, and I was just curious to see how your numbers compared now to what they would have been had you taken it 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, I took it and I answered it as if it was 4 months ago, and I had 15 yeses. That put me up in a hot mess category.
Yeah, hot mess
And
category.
I took it based on where I am now, and I only had 3 yeses.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. So I guess in closing, one of the things I think is really important, as a person, I try to treat my patients as a person. Obviously, I'm a physician, but I think it's sometimes really difficult for, especially if you're not feeling good, to try to take advice and to try to, do whatever it takes to get better. And I know a lot of people have a lot of difficulty trying to find someone who's able to help them. But given, I guess, what you went through, what would you give if you had one piece of advice to give people, women specifically out there that are suffering with the same types of things that you were suffering with? What one piece of advice would you give to them?
Well, I thought about this a little bit, and honestly, it would be work with Dr. Lena.
Oh, well, there's only one of me.
I know, and I know that's the rub, because there's only one of you, but truly, I think maybe honestly, it's don't just accept that this is as good as it's going to be. Be willing to learn the questions to ask, which you provide a lot of that information on all of the resources that you have out there for women, the Facebook page and everything. Be willing to make yourself a priority and take control of your health, and invest time in getting healthy, and be willing to develop the disciplines, that will allow you to live your best life. And, it may mean a process of having to go through several different healthcare providers until you find the one, but I think it's taught me a lot about taking my healthcare into my own hands rather than just being so trusting like I always have been,
Yeah, and I think what I find is, at least my patients, when I work with them, they end up knowing a lot more than their providers expect them to know.
Right.
So then they're like, oh no, what am I going to do now? The providers, I mean, they end up learning a lot from my patients, which I think is kind of cool. Because I mean, ultimately, the more we can help each other learn, the better everybody will be.
Right.
So, well, I really, really am thrilled with how well you've done. I'm confident that you're going to continue to do well. You're going to change other women's lives now that you feel so much better. And I really do appreciate your spending time with us and talking about your experiences. And I wish you the best of luck with everything, because you don't really need me anymore. That's the other nice thing, right? My goal is to get people to where they don't need me anymore, or anybody, really. You get to the point where you just need your annual physical, and that's it. So congratulations, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank
and
you so much.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.